Hey, welcome to Planet Earth. Mr. H here with you on a Friday. What's the best way to start the weekend? History, dinosaurs, and football. Makes perfect sense to me. Now, there's some guy once said that he lived for the weekends. I don't know who that guy was. I don't remember him. But he gave up on 71% of his life with that. Every day is an adventure. Make it a good one. Have fun with it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. If nothing else, you definitely have some interesting stories. And some of the most interesting stories you're ever going to hear about come right out of the Civil War. Look at that. We've got Ulysses S. Grant, the victorious Union general, and Robert E. Lee, the defeated Confederate general, right there at Appomattox Courthouse. These are the two superstars of the Civil War. Everybody knows who the quarterback is. Everybody knows who the running backs are, and the wide receivers and the middle linebackers. Today, I want to talk about the guys you never hear about, the ones who make it happen. If you've committed several felonies and you're on the run from the FBI, you could be a starting lineman in the NFL and they still wouldn't be able to find you. I've heard that before too. So Ulysses S. Grant, great general. He won the war, but he didn't do it alone. He had some help. And of course, I know the first guy you're going to think of when I say who was his main helper, his right-hand man. Right? You're thinking William Tecumseh Sherman. Well, that's not who I'm thinking of because everybody knows who he is, especially in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. He burned everything down over there, right? Don't bring up his name if you're visiting any of these places. Now, he's not the guy I'm thinking of. I'm thinking about the first Union general who defeated Robert E. Lee head to head in a major battle. Who would that guy be? If you're thinking McClellan, no, you're wrong. That's not him. He may have fought Robert E. Lee to a draw at Antietam. He even had Lee's plans in front of him, still only got a draw. And then after that, he got fired. So, not exactly a promotional bell ringer in the eyes of history. Who am I thinking of? Well, just remember this. Heroes don't always look like Rambo, don't always look like John Wick. Sometimes they look like snapping turtles with endocrine problems. That's right. We've got George Gordon Meade right here from the great city of Philadelphia. Anything but brotherly love over there. This ill-tempered man with endocrine problems and eye bags here is the first Union general who ever defeated Robert E. Lee, and he wasn't even their first pick. After a battle at Chancellorsville, where Army of the Potomac commander fighting Joe Hooker very angrily resigned, right? And they couldn't find anybody, and they asked 3, 4 other people, and everybody turned it down because they were scared of Robert E. Lee. Boom, they landed on George Gordon Meade. He shows up, no sleep, bad temper, and wins the battle at Gettysburg. Gettysburg. Yes, this is one of my favorite paintings from that battle there. I guess it's supposed to be the Devil's Den or maybe for 20th Maine. Not completely sure, but a really cool painting. I like this one too. I like the realistic detail, especially the water canteen there on the guy doing the face plant sail. It's flying in the air before it's going to probably hit him in the back of the head. Looks like he has worse problems at the moment. Always one of my favorite paintings. Anyway, back to the Battle of Gettysburg. Why did George Gordon Meade defeat Robert E. Lee? How did he pull this off when so many others had failed? Well, we know how this battle started with a disorganized Union retreat to Gettysburg. They dug in at Culp Hill, and Confederate General Ewell tried to storm it, and it didn't work, got thrown back. Robert E. Lee had given him the order to storm Culp Hill if practicable. It's a 19th century term there. After he's tried to storm and failed, he decided it wasn't practicable. So the Union dug in there, and they dug in along Cemetery Ridge, which, as you guessed, is an elevated position. General John Reynolds was the senior commander on site waiting for Meade to get there since he just got the job 10 minutes ago. He, ironically, is one of the people that turned this job down, overall command, and probably just as well because he got shot up there at Oak Ridge, like in the battle's opening moments there. He had other commanders on site. We've got Sedgwick and Hancock. They realized they had a good position, good ground, as they call it. And when Meade showed up in the early morning hours of day 2, he asked if they'd found good ground, and they said they had very good ground. Another Civil War term that comes up over and over, good ground. And it is, look at that. You got the ridge line, you got the hilltops over there, Culp's Hill. Oh, they've got a great position. Now, the reason Meade was able to win, you've got three good reasons. One, he listened to his subordinates, right? They found a good position and they decided to hang on to it. A lot of times, generals in every era have big egos. Yeah, so if they don't like the idea that because they didn't think of it, they try to find another one, and thousands of people get killed even when it works. So he decided, good ground, let's hang on to this. He's got interior lines. Look at that there, from Spangler Spring all the way down the Round Top. That's only a mile. If he's got to shift people around, that's what he does, less than a mile. Meanwhile, Robert E. Lee, if he's got to move somebody from Devil's Den all the way over to Spangler Spring, that's a good 3 hours. So they're trying to find a way around this. They even send Jeb Stuart way over there, 3 miles to the east, to try and find a way around this Union position. Runs into a guy named Custer, and Custer actually wins. Yeah, he wins that one. He's going to lose another one later on. But for right now, he's got the win. So you know how this battle's going to go. They try to take Culp Hill. It doesn't work. We've got Dan Sickles down here at the Round Tops. He nearly screws up by pushing his line out to the wheat field. And then we've got the whole chain of events that leads to the 20th Maine hanging on to the flank down there. And then on day 3, Pickett's charge, which might have been frustration on Lee's part. He hurls an entire division straight at the center of the Union line. They actually breached the line briefly till we beat them back. We beat them back. Union forces beat them back. Yeah, got to remember objectivity. And then that's when Lee decides to call it a day, and he leaves. And George Gordon Meade, the unsung hero of the Civil War and victor of Gettysburg, he's going to remain in command of the Army of the Potomac all the way to the end of the war. Grant never replaced him because he saw good talent when he saw it. So Meade, again, never got the attention he deserves, but he seems like a low-key guy and probably didn't care to get all that kind of attention anyway, so pulled back into the shell and sleep until the next battle, right? George Gordon Meade. So else I can scream that name a few times, see if he gets some kind of attention. If you're out there in the street screaming, somebody somewhere is going to get some kind of attention. Now, despite all the rifle fire, very accurate in this era, and cannon fire, running across open ground, I give credit where credit's due. The Confederates, absorbing lots of casualties, did get close to their Union opponents and try and win it by bayonet, but it wasn't going to work. But close quarters combat is not something unique to the Civil War, because you had it as far back as the Cretaceous period. There's a nice little map there at Gettysburg. See all the ridge lines and everything there? Yeah, you can tell they're not going to get through that. Back here to the Cretaceous period. Look at this. We have Protoceratops and Velociraptor fighting it out to the death. And you're wondering, how were these remains found this way? How did they end up this way? Isn't that kind of strange? Don't you think that perhaps these animals died somewhere far away from each other? Why are they found in a fighting position? This display is known as fighting dinosaurs, discovered in 1971 in Mongolia in a Polish-Mongolian expedition out in the Gobi Desert. And yeah, it is an interesting question, isn't it? Now, this is direct evidence that non-avian dinosaurs were definitely predators. All right, no doubt about it. They hunted and fought each other. And it appears that Protoceratops is not a bad fighter because, like McClellan, might not have won, but definitely got a draw out of this. So again, a lot of people theorize that maybe they were caught in a flash flood. I mean, if a wall of water hit them, don't you think these animals would have been, pushed away from each other? It's the Gobi Desert, and it's one of these places that's always been a desert. It was a desert back in the Cretaceous period. It was a desert back in the Permian period, the backside of the Paleozoic era. It's a desert today. It's a real hardcore kind of desert. I've seen sandstorms in Arizona that are pretty big. They call them haboobs. It's a real term. I didn't make that up. It's Arabic for sandstorm. And stuff can get buried in sand very quickly, especially in a place like Arizona. You see the huge wall of dust that reaches all the way up to the heavens. You're expecting to see Charlton Heston come out with the 10 Commandments. I didn't hang around. I just kind of went inside and watched Saving Private Ryan until it was over. You could imagine in Mongolia, it's probably worse. I'm also thinking maybe a sand dune collapsed on them while they were fighting, therefore entombing them for all eternity. That seems like a pretty good theory. A lot of other people buy into that, so it looks like we got some kind of consensus here. This is an overhead view, reconstructed overhead view. You can see Protoceratops is chomping down on Velociraptor's forearm over here. So it was a pretty nasty fight, up close and personal, you know. This is a computer reconstruction of the find, so you can get a better view of what they think is going on. Once again, kind of unusual that you'd find them in this position, you know, in a fighting position. So something must have happened, you know, spontaneously, like a collapsing sand dune or something. But it looked like a pretty nasty fight there. Velociraptor might have gotten a claw in on Protoceratops's throat, and Protoceratops definitely doing its best to use the garden shears there to cut off Velociraptor's forearm. Oh, nasty, brutish, and short, man. No Barney the dinosaur there in the late Cretaceous Gobi Desert. Here's a painting of what they think the battle might have looked like. There's Velociraptor, the feathered variety, going toe-to-toe with Protoceratops. They say you never get between a mother bear and her cubs. Looks like Protoceratops could do some damage, too, if you make it mad enough. Here's what they call the classical drawing of the encounter. Notice you don't see a sand dune or sandstorm or anything. They decided just to kind of forget about it and show you what the battle was like. Yeah, that's what they like to do. They like to pretend nothing happened, right? Now, speaking of close quarter combat and fossils, do you think this could be a fossil one day? Yeah, there's some close quarters combat between my Steelers and the Browns. Of course, will it still be around 70 million years from now? It is frozen in time here on the internet. They don't need to do any interpretation of what's going on. We can tell you exactly what's going on. Pittsburgh is defeating Cleveland, right? That's what always happens. Hey, I'm not here to insult the Cleveland Browns. There's plenty of other people who want to do that. So I'll let them take a swing at it. If you want this shirt, I could probably get it for you if you really want it. No. I'm gonna be nice to the Cleveland Browns today because they did something. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Now here's their stadium, First Energy Stadium. This was built in 1999. The old stadium was torn down. They built it in the footprint of that old stadium. It's been around a while, and the Browns are talking about getting a new stadium. Doesn't seem like it's been around that long, but they are talking about it. And there was a idea of putting a dome on this stadium, and that didn't go over very well for a couple reasons. One, hey man, this is the AFC North. All right, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore. We play outdoors up here, man, out in the snow, out in the ice. That's the way the game was meant to be played. Plus, if you put a dome, there's all kinds of problems too, physical problems. I'm not an architect, but my knowledge of elementary physics says that putting a dome means you're putting extra weight on a structure that was never intended to carry that weight. You got to reinforce the bottom. And you see that gap over there in the end zone? That's where the wind comes in off of Lake Erie. You're going to have to fill that gap up. And, you know, it's not like, you know, wood filler or something. It's got to be extra seats, brick, mortar, steel. And you're going to create a fissure when that weight of the dome sits on top of it. So it doesn't sound like a really good idea for a variety of reasons. So the idea now is to renovate, quote unquote, renovate the stadium. And what they're going to do, renovate, means tear it down all the way down to the bottom and rebuild it again. Problem with that is it's going to take a couple of years. So the natural question is, where do the Cleveland Browns play for those 2 years? Now, to the Cleveland Browns ownership's credit, I never thought you'd hear that from me, would you? They want to remain somewhere in Cleveland while the stadium is being rebuilt. The problem is there doesn't seem to be any suitable venues for this to happen. They floated the idea of Baldwin Wallace, which is a high school. Take a look at that. You really expect an NFL game to be played here? Oh, we'll bring in extra seats. How many extra seats do you plan on bringing? All right, because if you want to get a good-sized NFL-style crowd here, all right, you're basically rebuilding an entire new stadium on this site. You know, that's kind of what you're doing out there by the lake. So, you know, this is a non-starter. Now you brought up the idea of John Carroll Stadium. It's a little bit bigger, all right, but you're going to end up with the same problem. You've got the track over there. Come on, man. How many seats you got to put in here? That's not going to work. Now, I applaud the idea of wanting to keep the team in Cleveland for those 2 years so I can rebuild the stadium and not inconvenience too many fans. But it's just not going to work, man. You go into the NFL, you want the NFL experience. So we have a solution. And I endorse this solution. I think it's great. It's not officially in Cleveland, but it's pretty close. Here we are, the Hall of Fame, down there in Canton. It's only 45 minutes away, so it's not that far out of the way. 25,000 seat stadium. Maybe you could bring in a few seats, get it up there to 30,000. I think this would be a great place for him to play for a couple of years. It's not that far away. It's at the Hall of Fame. Hey, Canton makes money off tourists. I think it's a fantastic idea. My wife, Michelle, says, it's cute. So, you know, looks like debate's going to close on that right there, huh? Looks like I'm sold on a Hall of Fame hosting the Browns for a couple of years. Now, there were rumbles of people wanting to play down in Columbus. Now, that's not going to work, man. That's 2 hours away. Canton's only 45. You don't need 2 hours away. All right, and they're thinking about playing in the soccer stadium. All right, 20,000 people there. Columbus Crew plays there. They keep changing the name of the place. This brings back memories of the San Diego Chargers' ill-fated move to Los Angeles, where they played in the Sports Dignity Stadium for 3 years, and and they weren't selling many tickets, and the opponent's fans had more fans than the Chargers did. It looked like a Steelers or Packers home game most of the time. Yeah, so I don't think that would work. And like I said, Columbus, 2 hours away. Come on, that might even be infringing on Cincinnati Bengals territory, to be honest with you. Now, if you were absolutely determined to play in Columbus for some bizarre reason, you could always go to, Ohio Stadium. I mean, it's definitely big enough, 100,000 K right there. I think it's 102,000. So, that would make a bit more sense. But once again, it's 2 hours away. So let's stick with Canton. All right, I think that's the perfect solution. You could play there for a couple of years. I think everybody would have fun. Maybe have a preseason game down here at Ohio Stadium every now and again. A lot of fans there. Why not, right? Sounds like a great idea. So please, listen to me, Cleveland Browns ownership. As a dedicated Steeler fan who has enjoyed watching your team get destroyed by the Steelers on several occasions over the years, I implore you to consider Canton, Ohio, because I think that is the best solution for a temporary 2-year stay. Plus, Michelle says it's cute. So there we are. End of debate. Let's check out the USFL before we run off screaming into the street here. Well, North Division starting to see some separation, right? The Philadelphia Stars are 4-3, but the Michigan Panthers are right behind them, 3-4, but only a game back. New Jersey Generals fading away at 2-5. My Pittsburgh Maulers, oh my good. Talk about hitting rock bottom here. It's like tossing a piece of steel into the Ohio River, man. It hits the bottom, it's going to stay there. Got a feeling the 2024 training camp has already started there with the Maulers. Said it before, I'll say it again. Strength of this league is in the South Division. Defending champion Birmingham Stallions are 5-2, but not that big a lead. We've got 3 teams there wedged in at 4-3 right behind them. The Memphis Showboats start off 0-3. They've won 4 in a row. The New Orleans Breakers gone the opposite direction. They won 4. Now they've lost 3 in a row. And the Houston Gamblers just kind of sneaking around back there at 4-3. Maybe they're hoping to slip in the first when no one's paying any attention. Championship game? Hey, Canton, Ohio, July the 1st. See, I'm trying to push a little agenda here, right? Take the hint, Cleveland. Play in Canton for 2 years. Hey, you guys have yourself a great weekend. I will see you again next Friday. Till then, have fun. Be safe. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Have a great day. Das vidanya.